If you're like me and you've done lots of watercolor tutorials on YouTube before, you may want to try creating your own design and experimenting with all of the techniques that you've learned so far. The holidays are a great time to experiment with creating your own designs and playing around with different techniques to figure out your style and know what works for you, as well as creating some unique pieces of art for your friends and family. I wanted to share my process for the first design that I came up for this holiday season. I wanted to pick something really simple that would be easy for me to recreate, that's just comprised of simple shapes. So I took this image that I took of a sea lion several years ago on a whale watching trip. And every time I saw this picture, I thought this would be really cute as a Christmas card because it almost looks like he's sitting on a big ball. A really great way to come up with a very simple design is to pick a photo such as this one that is comprised of very simple shapes. I always like to make a little thumbnail in my sketchbook just to see how I want the composition to look. So you can see I've made some notes for myself on my sketchbook of techniques that I might want to try, like bokeh, or where I might want to use special paints like glitter paints or things of that nature. I also like to put additional compositional elements such as pine needles or any other foliage I'm planning to put on a card. Once I've got a basic thumbnail down, I'll go ahead and recreate that sketch in my larger sketchbook. I like to have a small sketchbook just for thumbnails and a larger one for the bigger compositions like the ones that will fit on my 5x7 cards. Once I've created a larger version of my thumbnail and a simplified version, I'll put that on tracing paper so that I can transfer that image to multiple cards at once. Right now my holiday card list is at about 50, so I'm probably going to work on about 10 to 15 of this simple design and then move on to another design later on. Even though I use the same design for my cards, all of my cards are going to turn out a little differently. I really like to experiment with different brush strokes, so maybe I'll use a tiny brush to create pine needles, or maybe I'll create elaborate, more exaggerated foliage. If the image doesn't transfer all the way, I do like to take a light pencil and just go over some of those lighter areas so that I can see where I'm painting. But I do try to keep it light because those pencil lines will stay once you've put watercolor down. So I experimented with a lot of different color combinations and blending for the sea lion. For a lot of them, I really just stuck with a standard gray wash of color, and then while it was still damp, I went ahead and put some dots of wet on wet color to create the spotted pattern on the sea lion. Since I've got my design on several cards, this does give me an opportunity to play around with techniques, try different ways of doing things, and figuring out what technique I like the best. I love that my sea lion did come out in a more cartoonish manner. So I am outlining the painting just to give it more of that illustrative comic-y effect. But the great thing with experimenting is that the next card you do, you don't have to outline it. You can try a different way of emphasizing the sea lion's features and determining visually how you like your cards to look. Once I've created this outline, I'm just blending in some of that color to create some nice simple shadows, and I'm really liking how he's turning out. So on my thumbnail for the composition, I definitely wanted to bring in some other elements so he's not just floating in the middle of the card. So I did experiment with different pine needle techniques to create the kind of surrounding tree with which he's going to be hanging. So as I'm working here on this one, you can see that the paint is kind of thick on my brush and it's creating a different style of pine needle than the first one that I did, where I just let whatever paint was on there be, and I really quickly made some brush strokes. This one I like to call the first pancake. So always when you do your first design and practice, it's probably not going to turn out the way that you want it to. But the good thing is that even though we've spent time making this one card and doing techniques and practicing, and it maybe didn't turn out the way that we wanted, we know for the next time when we do the next card what elements we did like about this. I really like the outlining and the shadows, but I'm not super fond of how the pine needles came out, so I'll definitely be adjusting my technique for future cards. So of course it's the holidays, and so my cards have to have a little bit of sparkle to them. So I'm playing around with some glittery watercolors that I got from Etsy, and it's been a while since I've brought these back out, so I kind of couldn't remember how they behaved on paper. I will say once I was putting it on, I realized that the layer wasn't as thick as I liked. So I feel like these watercolors are good for a light glaze of glitter, but if I wanted this particular bulb to be really glittery, I was probably going to have to break out some different glitter watercolors. But this is all part of the fun of experimenting and trying things out, because as I'm putting this on, like I said, I'm not entirely liking the level of glitter. Definitely needs more glitter. Even putting on the second layer isn't quite doing it for me. So now I'm switching it up, and I've switched over to a different set of sparkly watercolors, and these I believe I got off Amazon. And then you can see as I'm putting this on just how much thicker and more opaque that glitter is. And already I'm much happier with this one. So here's how this first one came out. And I also want to point out that I did it on the opposite way. So whoops, I can't use it because I put it in the wrong direction. Good thing it was just a practice run. Here's a couple of the other ones that I finished after I was done practicing my technique a little more. So you can see I kept the outline and a little bit of the shading. Then I started playing around with the pine needles and using some of the glitter paint to create some sparkly pine needles. I really like this one. I also changed the glitter paint so that bulb is way more opaque. Here's one where I just really did quick, thin brush strokes for the pine needles. I really like how this one turned out as well. Experimenting with different shades of green as well. Here's one where I did my pine needles in a more cartoony style. So I just did some quick brush strokes and then I outlined it with pen. And I think it looks really cute. Because I was using tracing paper, some of my seals did change direction because I would kind of go back and forth with the paper. This time I decided to not do any spots at all, just a really simple wet on wet technique. And you can see how it bled, it was interesting. This one might be one of my favorites in terms of color. It's got this nice grayish brownish color and the spots really blended in nicely. I think of all of the sea lions I did, this one might be one of my favorites. And again, here's that really nice opaque gold from that Amazon watercolor that I had. So definitely much improved. And then here's my wild card. I did say I wanted to practice with the bokeh technique, and I really struggle with this one. I actually use two different kinds of cards. I have the Strathmore cards that I usually use that I buy from Michaels or Amazon, and I've recently switched to 100% watercolor cards. So this is an old Strathmore card, and I put it through the ringer, putting so many layers of paint on this. And the bokeh technique, it turned out okay. I did like to add a little bit of sparkle to it. I didn't like how the seal looked on the first pass either, so I basically just covered this whole thing in glitter. It's cute. It's gonna be one of a kind, that's for sure. I don't know who's getting this one yet. And I still need to clean it up a little bit, redo the outlines and things, but I think somebody will like it. So this is just one of 4 designs that I've done for the holidays. So I'm really looking forward to sharing with you some of the other designs that I've done this holiday season. I hope you'll be inspired to maybe take an image that you've always wanted to paint or draw and make a really simple cartoony design that will go great on a Christmas card. And then just have fun with it. Buy yourself a pack of 50 watercolor cards. I definitely am recommending 100% cotton, and I will be doing a comparison video between my old Strathmore cards and the new watercolor cards that I have. So stay tuned for that. Even if all of the cards don't come out perfect, the good news is that you have more, and you're going to have a great time getting out all of your paints and experimenting with all the different types of paints that you have and the different techniques that maybe you've tried. Use wet on wet, maybe use the salt technique if you've tried the salt technique. All of these great tutorials on YouTube have gone through this process, playing around with different designs and experimenting with the techniques until you finally get it exactly the way you want it. All of them will be unique pieces of art that you can share with your loved ones. And I know for a fact that all of my loved ones really appreciate the handmade card during Christmas time. This is definitely my favorite time of year to play around and experiment and create so that I can share my art with the people I love most. Let me know in the comments if you are doing Christmas cards this year. Do you have any favorite YouTubers that you use for your watercolor tutorials? Let me know. With that, I'll say goodbye for now, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.